On Authentic Ag, we sit down and have a candid conversation with native Kansan and the CEO of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, Kendal Frazier. This interview taped earlier in the year, so it doesn't address the most recent activities that are affecting the industry, primarily here in the High Plains. We'll also have some features from some of the state's ag groups. I'm Ken Rahjes. This is Authentic Ag. Brought to you in part by Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leading in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online, kswheat.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future of Kansas corn. Online, kscorn.com. In agriculture news from agview.net, Kansas Governor Laura Kelly issued an executive order temporarily exempting commercial motor carriers as well as some operators from some of the regulations to expedite disaster recovery efforts in areas affected by the recent blizzard as well as the spring flooding. For vehicles involved in providing direct assistance, the governor's order temporarily suspends licensing certification as well as some permitting rules and regulations that are required by the Kansas Corporation Commission. It also provides an exemption from registration and fuel tax permits enforced by the Kansas Department of Revenue. Now, participating motor vehicles hauling hay will be allowed to carry loads up to 12 feet in width, 14 feet 6 inches in height. Motor carriers still need to obtain an oversized permit as required by the Kansas Department of Transportation, but the fees associated with the permits are temporarily being waived under the executive order. Well, the Government Accounting Office, known as a GAO, has issued a report suggesting that USDA's preparedness for a potential foot and mouth disease outbreak needs to be strengthened. As an example, the report indicated that the entire U.S. supply of FMD vaccine would be sufficient to protect only about 14% of the cattle in Texas and 4% of the hogs in Iowa. As part of its 2016 vaccination policy, USDA's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service specified 25 million doses of FMD vaccine for each of the 10 subtypes that the virus was an appropriate minimum target to have available. The GAO found that the U.S. currently has access to only 1.75 million doses of each subtype in the vaccine bank. Now, this report was requested by Senate Ag Committee Chairman Pat Roberts of Kansas. And the livestock groups say this report validates that the inclusion of funding in the 2018 Farm Bill for a new U.S. FMD vaccine bank was indeed warranted. Well, USDA reporting China made another 2.6 million bushel purchase of U.S. sorghum. China also announced a significant purchase of U.S. corn recently. Now, these purchases occurred as China confirmed continuing the ongoing trade talks with the U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer, as well as Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin, are meeting with Chinese constituents in Beijing. And recently, President Trump said he is very pleased with the positive direction that the U.S.-China trade negotiations are taking.
Kim Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about umbrella coverage. Did you know that if you're held liable in any type of accident, the judgment can claim your assets? Please give me a call so we can discuss. 316-945-6733.
Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News, a reliable and relevant source, agview.net.
Join us April 6th for the Gardner Angus Ranch 40th Anniversary Spring Production Sale at the ranch near Ashland, Kansas. The sale will feature 342 registered bulls, 386 registered females, and 532 bred Gardner Angus influenced commercial females. The sale will start at 9 a.m. sharp. If you are unable to join us in person, you can bid online by going to liveauction.tv and register prior to the sale. At Gardner Angus Ranch, you aren't just buying a breed. You are buying a brand backed by 4 generations of disciplined seed stock production. We hope to see you April 6th at the ranch.
What if U.S. soybean oil were an industry sensation? If end users started asking for it by name? That future is here. The time is now. To meet customer demands, the Soybean Checkoff is investing in varieties that produce oil with increased functionality. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
And joining us now is Kendal Frazier, who is a native Kansan, of course, and he serves as the CEO of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Kendal, coming back to the home state, meeting with the KLA folks, what kind of message are you delivering from the national organization?
Well, our industry, we think, is in a pretty good place right now. Domestic demand and international demand are very strong in the face of record supplies of beef being produced and record supplies of competitive protein. So the industry is in a pretty good place. And prices this year right now are higher than I think anyone ever thought they would be. NCBA is doing very well. We have a big presence in Washington, D.C., and we're working on a lot of issues in Washington, D.C. In addition to that, through the Federation of State Beef Councils, which the Kansas Beef Council is a member of, we are aggressively trying to build beef demand using as a contractor to the beef checkoff. So we think the organization is doing really well right now.
All right, so I guess let's talk about the elephant in the room in a sense. 2018, one of the things that's been is other organizations, those in the beef industry, are kind of trying to do some things through the legal process, going back to that same old situation that there's some checkoff money being used, maybe not the right way, pointing directly at NCBA. As a vendor, I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk about that as much as you want.
Well, it's unfortunate that RCAF has filed a lawsuit against the beef checkoff in a Montana district court. And they're challenging the constitutionality of the checkoff and the structure of the Montana Beef Council. And we believe that the checkoff is constitutional. We believe there's enough government oversight of the checkoff, and we believe it is getting significant results in helping build beef demand. As far as our role is concerned in that, we have had 2 audits by the Office of Inspector General of NCBA and the Federation of State Beef Councils and several state beef councils. Both those audits found were very clean and that the money is being spent in accordance with the act and order, and that none of those funds are being used to implement policy at NCBA or any other organization that the operating committee contracts with. So it's unfortunate that this challenge is going on because it's diverting our attention away from what we need to be doing every day, and that's building beef demand. The other unfortunate thing about this is that RCAF has formed an alliance with the Humane Society of the United States in this lawsuit. And that's very unfortunate because the Humane Society of the United States is the sponsor of Meatless Mondays. They believe in less red meat production, and their agenda for our industry is not good long term. And it's very unfortunate that that organization has formed an alliance with RCAP.
We're talking with Kendal Frazier, the CEO of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. We'll have more in just a moment.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and LibertyLink that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
My name's Karen Cope, and I have multiple sclerosis. When you have MS, on the outside you look great, but you know what's really going on in the inside is chronic body pain, chronic fatigue. And there's lots of days that I'd wake up and say, oh, please God, help me get through this day. You know, after stem cells, Chloe, my youngest daughter, she was asked by my father-in-law, how's your mom doing? And Chloe said, Grandpa, I've never had a mom like this before, because she was 8 when I was diagnosed, and she really had no other memory of me but being sick. It's really the simple things that we do as a family, like play cards, and to be able to win at cards. You know, they all laugh because I used to repeat myself and say, what hand are we on? You know, where are we at? And it's just been really a true blessing from God, and we're really thankful.
We're joined this week by Kendal Frazier, who is the CEO of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. And Kendal, we turn the calendar to January, a new Congress. We have, in a sense, a split Congress and split leadership in D.C., but that doesn't mean that the efforts of NCBA and the industry really change much.
They don't. We have a office and a staff of 20 people in Washington, D.C. that are working in the halls of Congress and the administration buildings, USDA, FDA, EPA, Department of Interior, every single day representing cattlemen. And that's extremely important. We've got a lot of issues that we're working on. And regardless of who's in Congress, who the president is, we're going to have a presence back there, and we're going to represent cattlemen. A couple of issues we're working hard on right now. One of them is the whole issue surrounding fake meat, or alternative proteins. There's a big discussion going on in Washington, D.C. about who's going to regulate those products. And there's a tug of war going on between FDA and USDA. We believe that USDA is the agency that needs to regulate those products so we have a level playing field. And all you have to do is go look at the dairy section of a supermarket to see what happens when FDA regulates milk and how nomenclature and labeling around milk, and that's not good. So that's a big priority for us. Second big issue we're working on in DC is trade. Trade is really important to cattlemen. We're on track this year to export $8 billion worth of beef and variety meats. It's about $300 per head on the price of fed cattle. So we work closely with Congress, the administration, trying to make sure that we have access into markets overseas. So those would be a couple of issues we're working hard on.
Sure. It seems like the industry also is coming together, things like traceability, food safety, all these different situations, because finally the administration has been able to get some key people in USDA. A lot of things have been held up because of that.
Yeah, we're very pleased with the Ag Marketing Service Undersecretary Greg Eibach. He's from Nebraska, as you well know, former Agriculture Secretary in Nebraska, and he is, he's pushing this forward, this discussing of traceability, animal identification. Obviously, there's a big pilot project going on here in Kansas. It's very important because we think we're going to learn a lot. The industry as a whole is going to learn a lot from this pilot project going on in Kansas. So we're working very closely with Undersecretary Eibach, and he's doing a great job in the Trump administration. Obviously, we work very closely with Secretary Perdue, and Secretary Perdue is doing a good job of representing farmers and ranchers in the Trump administration.
Great. Well, Kendal, always great to see you. Thanks for coming back to Kansas, and keep up the fight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Kendal Frazier, the CEO of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, joining us.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns, and how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.
Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News, a reliable and relevant source, agview.net.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but yet we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we're glad to answer it and work with you.
Hello everyone, my name is Josh Rowe, and I serve as the Vice President for Market Development and Public Policy with Kansas Corn. And I'm speaking to you today from the Topeka State House, but we keep a close eye on many issues happening in Washington, D.C. I think the top legislative related issue that we're keeping our eye on and really beginning to step up outreach, and that is the ratification of the USMCA, which stands for the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement. It's the trade agreement that is set to replace NAFTA through there. Obviously, Mexico and Canada are very big trade partners of ours. If we look in 2018, Mexico alone imported all 24% of all Kansas corn through there. And then if you add both countries together through that, you look at Mexico and Canada, all the agricultural products out of the state, they took 40%. So, China tends to be in the news a lot for this reason or that. I think it's a good media story, but really for the importance of Kansas agriculture, it is vital that USMCA gets ratified this year, and what that will require is a vote by first the U.S. House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate both. So any outreach you can do with your own legislators, helping to tell that story and pushing our lawmakers to get this important piece through for Kansas agriculture.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Welcome to Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in Oakley, Kansas on I-70 at exit 76. I-70, after all, is America's Main Street, and we're right here on Main Street for you. Now that I'm an Oakley resident, I still come in almost every day, and I sit and listen to the conversations of the people around me. You know, the guys who are talking about the big elk they just bagged, or the folks who are taking their kid to college for the first time. People just traveling up and down the highway. Real people, just like you and me. And they find just what I find here, real people to serve them. There's history, there's scenery. We hope you'll stop and see us soon. Welcome to Oakley.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
ValleyVet.com, ValleyVet.com, ValleyVet Supply. team from the USDA Ag Research Service recently completed a comprehensive life cycle analysis quantifying the resource use and various environmental emissions of beef cattle in the United States. The analysis took 5 years, spanned 7 cattle-producing regions, and used data from 2,270 survey responses and site visits nationwide. Among the results, the 7 regions' combined beef cattle production accounted for only 3.3% of total U.S. greenhouse gas emissions. By comparison, transportation and electricity generation together made up 56% of total emissions in 2016. According to Ag Research Service agricultural engineer Alan Rotz, the greenhouse gas emission findings prove beef cattle production is not a significant contributor to long-term global warming. Scientists also found fossil energy used in cattle production accounted for less than 1% of the total consumed nationally. Results of the study, funded in part by the Beef Checkoff, showed cattle only consumed 2.6 pounds of grain per pound of beef carcass weight, which is comparable to poultry and pork. 2 areas researchers identified for potential improvement are water use and reactive nitrogen losses. In the next 6 months, the Ag Research Service team will combine the initial results with data from other sectors of the beef supply chain, including processing, packing, distribution, retail, consumption, and waste handling.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
All over the country, more and more communities are making the change to biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil, and the decision continues improving the health and welfare for millions of Americans while adding billions to our national economy.
Hello, my name is Aaron, and I am here to talk about the cash grain markets. As I have discussed before, the Planning Perspective report came out on Friday. In the past, we were thinking we would see a larger shift to corn. This report was based on intentions at the beginning of March, so now that we are weeks past that, the wet weather we have been seeing will not have been factored into this. This will likely be the highest point we see for expected corn acres, and I expect to see that the number decrease if the planting season continues to be delayed due to wet weather. Corn and bean basis has been creeping up here until recently. With the flooding and the rallies in the markets, basis seems content where it is until something else happens. I think that we will see eastern Kansas and some Nebraska basis improve if the flood water drops and the elevators begin competing to once again fill their space. Southwest Kansas feedlots seem to be pretty much bought up for the nearby. However, buyers will still occasionally pop up to get some nearby coverage. Your best bet is to get some sold into the feeders will be out into May, June, July timeframes. Old crop and new crop wheat basis seems pretty strong as we get into pre-harvest timeframe. Protein premiums are still very few and far between, but with certain buyers they can be found. I have seen a few instances of premiums being paid for lower protein wheat to be blended out. Please give us a ring if you have any questions on any of these cash markets. The best way to reach us is 888-452-8751. Thanks and have a great day.
Well, thank you for joining us for Authentic Ag. If you have questions or comments, email me, Ken Rahjes at gmail.com. We'll see you next time on Authentic Ag.
Clyde Sutton, Ness City, Kansas. Lived on this place all my life. About a year and a half ago, got to where I couldn't saddle a horse. The pain was terrible. Read about stem cell. First it wasn't for me, then they started doing neck and back. Went and had it done. As you can see, I saddled a horse. I'm still building fence. Love to shoot a shotgun rifle, and I'm able to participate, not like I used to, but nevertheless I can do the things I used to do, and life is good.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com.